Man has been charged with the murder of a 19-year-old woman. Police say she was stabbed to death outside a bodega in Brooklyn when she refused to give him his number.
At one point, the deli owner had to lock the doors to keep the man out. The twins thought the coast was clear, but once they walked out of the deli...
All over someone getting rejected.
Rejected simply, and they just escalated it. I don't know if they were sober or not, but it's just... this was unnecessary as hell.
When someone hits on you and you say you're not interested in going out with them, you don't imagine the next thing they'll do is end your life, and neither did Samiya Spain. In March 2024, 19-year-old Samiya Spain and her twin sister, Saniya Spain, were about to turn 20, and they couldn't be more excited to begin their 20s. Unfortunately, only one of them made it to their 20th birthday, because in the early hours of March 17, 2024, Samiya Spain's life was brutally taken from her. Why? She met a man named Veo Kelly, who asked for her number, but Samiya didn't want to give it to him. What happened next was something neither Samiya nor her twin sister saw coming.
She didn't want to be bothered. Why did she have to die? Because you're not who she want to be accompanied by. Walk away.
Samiya Spain's story takes us to New York City. NYC, as it's popularly known, probably isn't the most popular city in the world, but it is pretty unique. With its boisterous atmosphere and colorful residents, NYC is probably the only city in the world where even introverts are forced to be outside once in a while. This is because there's always so much going on at all times that it makes it easier for people who are typically homebodies to have a reason to socialize. New York is a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities, which makes it the perfect place to enjoy diverse cuisine. And no matter how different you think you are, New York is probably one of the few places where you might find people like you. And if you're a lover of entertainment, you'll fit right in with its incredible museums, jazz clubs, DIY venues, and art galleries, as well as incredible, amazing, and off-Broadway scenes. There's no shortage of fun or ways to experience it, and people from different walks of life keep coming together to curate incredible exhibits and shows that can open your world to what's beyond your experiences. It is a city like no other, and that's why many people love to call it home. One of those people who called it was the Spains. Samiya and Saniya Spain were born in New York, but moved to North Carolina when they were younger. After spending a few years in North Carolina, they began to miss the city life. After living in New York, it can be hard to enjoy the slower pace of other cities or towns. Like the saying goes, New Yorkers are just built different. After spending a few years in North Carolina, the twins begged their parents to let them move back to New York, and their parents agreed. But after a few years of being back in New York, tragedy would strike, the kind that would make their parents wish they'd left them back in North Carolina. The bond between twins is unlike any other sibling connection. It's powerful and unique. In fact, there's a study that shows that twins who are separated at birth can go on to have the same career and style, and they even speak the same. That's how powerful their bond can be, that even if they're not together, they're still a reflection of each other. And such was the case for Samiya and Saniya Spain. As with most twins, they spent every waking moment together. They were inseparable. They had most of the same interests, the same friends. According to a family friend of the Spains, they were so alike it was like they shared the same soul. Samiya, like her sister, was described as a beautiful, smart, kind, and outgoing young girl who had her entire life in front of her, and she was determined to make something of that life too. From a young age, Samiya had fallen in love with music. Music was something she was so passionate about that it felt like she was born to make music. Her dream was to one day be a big star in Hollywood. According to family and friends, Samiya always had a reason to smile. It didn't matter whether she was in a good mood or not. She would always have a smile on her face. She had a positive can-do attitude that rubbed off on anyone who met her. She never dwelled on the negative. She always picked the lessons she could learn from a situation and moved on from it. Now, because she was friendly, Samiya had loads of friends. Her easygoing nature made it easy for people to be around her. But though she had a lot of friends, no one could take the space of her twin sister, Saniya, in her life. That was her best friend, whom she loved with all her heart. They did so much together that their family just started referring to them as one person. Such was their closeness.
They were always together. When you see Saniya, you saw Samiya. She just got a job.
They wore similar clothing, made similar hairstyles, even posed in similar ways in their photos. Wherever you saw one, the other wouldn't be far away. The twins came from a big family, so they always had people around, which influenced how they treated people when they grew up. They were taught kindness and forgiveness as kids, and grew up to be kind, forgiving adults, but unfortunately, their kindness was repaid with evil. March 15, 2024, was game night for the Spains. They gathered as a family to play games, make fun of each other, and share food. As the night rolled into the next day, the twins decided they wanted to step out for a bit and get some stuff from the bodega not too far away from them. On March 16, 2024, Samiya and her twin sister Saniya decided to leave their family game night and join a group of friends out for a night of fun. At first, they were supposed to just get a few things from their local bodega, but a friend of theirs said there was a party going on, so they decided to ditch their original plans and head for the party. Being a Saturday, they were eager to relax and enjoy the weekend. The atmosphere was lively, filled with laughter, music, and the joy of being surrounded by friends. Samiya and Saniya enjoyed the opportunity to catch up, dance, and make memories. But as the hours passed and the night grew late, the festive energy began to wind down, and the twins realized that it was time to head home, so they said goodbye to their friends. As they were heading home, they discovered they still needed a few things from the bodega. Plus, they were now hungry, so they headed in that direction. According to a friend who was with Samiya and Saniya that night, the group made their way to the bodega, Slope Natural Plus on 4th Avenue around 2:20 a.m. The late-night atmosphere was buzzing with the usual mix of partygoers and night owls. Outside the bodega, the group took their time, enjoying each other's company as they went over their options. Some suggested snacks, while others leaned towards something more filling. After arguing over what they were getting for a few minutes, they finally agreed on sandwiches and beef patties.
Did you know the girls?
Not personally, but we was at a party, and we just had left, and we went to the store to get food. We was all getting sandwiches or like beef patties just to eat. We're hungry. We want to go home, and this happens.
According to the same person who was partying with the twins, as they made their way into the bodega to get their snacks, a few guys approached them. One of the guys who introduced himself to them as Veo Kelly was obviously interested in twins, so he turned to them and complimented them. The twins appreciated his compliments, but they were not interested in him. However, he didn't stop there. His comments became persistent, making the situation so uncomfortable for them both. Samiya and Saniya tried to remain polite, but the situation grew increasingly awkward as he continued to press for their attention.
So I had walked in the deli to order food, and these guys were holding their door open for everybody. One of the guys had complimented the two girls that had walked in with their friends.
After pestering them for a few minutes, he asked if he could have Samiya's number, but she wasn't comfortable giving her number to a total stranger, so she said no. Veo was clearly getting frustrated that Samiya was rejecting him, so to pacify him, she offered to give him her Instagram handle so he could send her message there. But for some reason, Veo wasn't satisfied with only her Instagram handle. He wanted more.
Police say Kelly, who had too much to drink, flew into a rage when Samiya would not give him her phone number. She and her sister did not know Kelly, had never seen him before. But to pacify him, she gave him her Instagram handle.
At this point, Samiya wanted nothing to do with Veo, who was now making them even more uncomfortable than they were before. But they still didn't want their situation to escalate, so they just tried to be patient with him. But once Veo followed Samiya on Instagram, he turned to her and asked her to follow him back. Again, Samiya did not want to do that, so she declined. But unfortunately, Veo did not like taking no for an answer.
No, I'm not attacking you.
The already volatile situation became even worse as Veo started yelling at the twins, calling them names and screaming at them at the top of his lungs. The twins were also yelling right back and calling him names. So the guy who owned the bodega decided to intervene, asking the man to leave the bodega and never return.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
That's it, yeah.
According to the person who was with the twins who did not want to be identified, Veo tried to follow them into the bodega, but he wasn't allowed to, so he walked down the street, angry, and kept calling them names as he walked away.
And they said no, they weren't attracted, so he called them names. They called him names back. He walked down the block angry. And then a couple, like 2-3 minutes later, he comes up and starts banging and kicking on the glass door, trying to get in.
So he comes back to the bodega.
Yes. He left and came back.
But while the bodega was trying to de-escalate the situation, not allowing Veo in seemed to have done the opposite. He became extremely upset and stood by the door for a minute before banging on them. After he left for the second time, everyone assumed he was gone for good, so the owner of the bodega unlocked the door so everyone could leave. Unbeknownst to them, the man had not really left.
At one point, the deli owner had to lock the doors to keep the man out. The twins thought the coast was clear, but once they walked out of the deli...
Once Veo left, the twins and their friends waited for a few minutes just to make sure the coast was clear, and when they were satisfied that he wasn't coming back, the bodega owner opened up the doors for them, and they walked out onto the street. But almost immediately after they walked out, Veo rushed back and lunged at them.
And he's banging on the door. They locked the door. Then he walked away again. So they unlocked the door so everybody could leave. So the second they opened the door, he ran back into the door and started attacking them.
The twins were with their twin brother that night, and he tried to protect them from Veo. He got in his face, telling him to leave his sisters alone. But Veo hadn't come back alone. He had come back with more of his own people, and one of them attacked the twins' brother. With their brother occupied, the twins were left to defend themselves, and that's when Veo turned to attack them.
They get right in front of the deli, they're fighting, and then a guy in all black had stabbed one of the girls in her neck and the other in her arm, and ran.
Because everyone was fighting, no one noticed that Veo had a knife, and no one noticed when he tried to use that knife to attack Samiya. Well, no one that is but Saniya, who got in between Veo and her sister and tried to shield her. Veo then attacked her with the knife on her arm, and as she fell to the ground, Samiya decided to face him and defend her sister, but she also got attacked. At this point, a few of their friends had noticed they were both laying on the ground, so they gathered around them as Veo and his friends fled the scene. Some of the people with the twins took off their sweaters and started applying pressure to Samiya's wounds, whilst another friend called 911.
So then everybody gets to attending her. One of her friends took off their shirts and started putting compression on her neck to try to slow down the bleeding. And she was gushing blood just down her entire body, covering the street inside and the bike lane. And that's when we called 911 and they showed up and pulled her in. And last time I saw her, she was like full flat, laid down, unresponsive, getting on the hearse.
Unconscious?
Yes.
Wow.
It didn't take long for first responders to get to their location, but once they got there, they realized that one twin's wounds were more life-threatening than the other. Paramedics worked on them to stabilize them before rushing them to the hospital, but a few officers stayed behind to work the scene and get statements from the people who were present. They cordoned off the area and began their investigation. They immediately found the murder weapon.
All over someone getting rejected
simply, and they just escalated it. I don't know if they were sober or not, but it's just, this was unnecessary as hell. Actually, his friend was telling him, like, you're drunk, let's just go. So they're not sober, they get rejected, and they just escalated tenfold. Like, we was all having a good night before this.
After the incident at the bodega, the next heartbreaking step was to inform Samiya and Saniya's family of the tragic events. Investigators had to relay the devastating news that Saniya was in the hospital undergoing treatment, but unfortunately, Samiya had not survived. She passed away shortly after being taken to the hospital. The news shattered Samiya's family, leaving them grief-stricken and overwhelmed by the sudden loss of their beautiful daughter.
I miss her so much.
Her tears run deep after losing her 19-year-old daughter, Samiya Spain.
The entire family were heartbroken, including the twins' father, who was so heartbroken by what he saw that he could barely get a word out.
And I saw the same mannerisms. I saw the shivering. I saw the coldness. I saw the blank stares. I saw the I don't know what I'm about to do. I saw the different emotions. But we talk about a man and a woman that lost a child. I don't know what it feels like, and I don't want to know what it feels like to lose a child.
But there was one person investigators were very eager to speak with, Samiya's twin sister, who was awake and responsive, so she told them everything that happened. According to Saniya, she and her sister Samiya had taken a break from a family game night and were walking to the Slope Natural Plus on 4th Avenue in Park Slope with their brother at around 2:20 a.m. when a friend pointed out who someone was following Samiya. The man, who turned out to be the same Veo Kelly, followed them into the bodega and tried to talk to Samiya. Saniya told investigators she felt protective over her sister and didn't like the guy. So she grabbed her phone and I was like, "Come with me. Come with me." I was like, "Why are you talking to that boy?" She said, "I don't want to talk to that boy." Saniya told investigators Samiya then told the man, "I don't want to be bothered with you. Leave me alone." But he didn't listen to her and continued to pester her. According to Saniya, to get him off their backs, Samiya gave her Instagram handle to him, but when she wouldn't follow him back, he got even angrier and started yelling at them. But that wasn't all he did. Saniya told investigators that he pushed little Samiya, and then I pushed him, and then everybody else started pushing him out the door. With the help of the bodega owner, they were able to kick Veo and his friends out of the store. Saniya told investigators that they were relieved at first because it looked like they were safe. But that feeling didn't last long as Veo came running back, this time around, armed with a happy nail. He banged on the door of the bodega and asked to be let in, but the store owner refused, so he left. Except this time around, he didn't actually leave. He hid out of sight and waited for the girls to exit the bodega, and the moment he saw the doors open, he and his friends rushed to them and attacked them. After the guys ran away, Saniya turned to her sister, only to realize she had been seriously injured. She said, "I'm about to faint," Saniya said. As soon as she said, I'm about to faint. I called 911. But unfortunately, it was too late for Samiya. What happened to the twins quickly swept the community once the media caught wind of it and started reporting on it. The question on everyone's minds was, how did a simple rejection lead to ending a life?
This cell phone video obtained by Pix 11 News shows the moment Spain and her twin sister Saniya were brutally attacked. That's Samiya apparently being stabbed in the chest and neck.
A local TV station also spoke to the twins' mom, who said the attack was very calculated, saying the man responsible knew exactly what he was doing.
Those were deadly points that he punctured in her body, that even if she fought it, I don't think she could have won the fight.
LaShawn Goodson is more than heartbroken, thinking about the death of her daughter, but how she died, Goodson says, makes the pain that much harder.
Many people in the community were completely outraged by Samiya's mother, with most of them saying men needed to learn how to handle rejection. Her mom told the media that what happened to beautiful Samiya wouldn't have happened if Veo had learned to take no for an answer.
She didn't want to be bothered. Why did she have to die? Because you're not who she want to be accompanied by. Walk away. Don't hit on no girl. Don't fight no female, no matter what. Go on about your business.
While their mother tries to deal with her grief, she wants the man responsible for taking her daughter's life to suffer just as she had suffered.
I just want him to suffer every day like I am. I want him to wake up every day in a cell, just like I gotta wake up every day with my mind in a cell.
Members of the community stood in solidarity with Samiya and Saniya's mom, saying no should always mean no.
And the community wants the same thing, standing in solidarity with the family.
No means no in our community. If in fact that this woman didn't want you to say anything or do anything to her, you should have just walked away. So the call to the action right now is to say to the individuals that committed this crime, turn yourself in. You may run, but you're not gonna hide.
They also urged him to turn himself into the authorities and pay for what he had done. Because the twins lived in a close-knit community, everyone knew each other, and many residents got involved. Once people got involved, it didn't take long for the case to get to social media. Once people on social media got wind of it, it started getting reposted, and a short while later, the boy who attacked the girls was identified as 20 years old, Veo Kelly. Once his identity was revealed, community members started posting photos and videos of him on social media, urging people who knew him to get him to turn himself in. People all over New York were incredibly upset and took to their online spaces to voice their frustrations. Most of them were either applying pressure on the police to figure it out, while others put pressure on Veo to turn himself in and confess to everything he had done. And it looked like he listened, because not long after the vicious attack, he walked into the police station to turn himself in.
Yeah, he absolutely did that today. He showed up here at the 7A precinct, he turned himself in, and he had his lawyer with him at the time.
He was arrested outside of the precinct, where several people were gathered to protest what he did to Samiya and her twin sister.
How dare you,
Yo, I can't wait till I see your sister. We're gonna fuck her. You. He stabbed her 2 twins and he know he got a sister. What would happen if somebody did that to your sister? Stabbed her up 3 places. You fuck.
He was taken to the appropriate station, where he was charged for what he did to Samiya and what he attempted to do to Saniya. But that wasn't all. After he was arrested and his fingerprints were entered into the system, investigators noticed that that was not the first time he had been arrested. It turned out he had a criminal past. He had previously been arrested for armed robbery.
Man has been charged with the murder of a 19-year-old woman. Police say she was stabbed to death outside a bodega in Brooklyn when she refused to give him his number.
This case was very heart-wrenching for the community, but it completely tore Samiya's family apart. They struggle with the fact they no longer have twin girls. It was particularly hard watching Saniya turn 20 without Samiya.
And Samiya's birthday, by the way, is next month. She and her twin sister would have celebrated their 20th birthday together.
What happened to the Spain twins sparked outrage in the community, leading to protests all over New York.
Say her name! Samiya Spain! Say her name! Samiya Spain! What do we want to see? Accountability! Accountability! What do we want to see? Accountability! What do we want to see? Accountability! What do we want to see?
The aim of the protests was to draw attention to the risk of violence women face after rejecting the advances of men. Although the frequency of rejection killings is unknown, Essence magazine chronicled stories of Black women who were unalived after saying no to random men hitting on them. And according to Columbia University's Mailman School of Public Health, Black women in general face a higher risk of homicide than their white counterparts.
Justice for! Justice for! Justice for! Justice for! Say her name! They showed up from Samiya Spain. I know you've heard her name before. She is a young Black girl. She is 19, and she deserves to be alive today.
Many people who showed up for the protests had either suffered some kind of violence in the hands of men or knew someone who had, so they could sympathize with Samiya's parents.
Violence. How does it affect me? It affects me because I've already been impacted by gun violence twice. You know, but violence, period, gun, knife, whatever, it's a heartfelt thing for any parent to have to deal with. You know, at the end of the day, we all still searching for answers.
They also had a few things on their minds to make people aware of who Samiya was and how her life was taken from her, to create awareness on the rate of violence against women, and to urge the government to create stricter rules.
All of us.
What do you think is the cause, and what do you think should be done about this?
I think they need to first and foremost apprehend the suspect. What should be done? We need stricter rules, laws, and regulations for everybody, not just one set of, demographics. We need for all. All laws should be impacted for everybody, and everybody should have to follow them.
The heartbreak Samiya and Saniya's family felt led them to create an NGO to help advocate against violence women face. I am Dinasha Goodson, sister of Samiya Spain. On March 17th, Samiya Spain hosted a game night for her and her friends. They decided to go to their local corner store to grab something to eat. They were met with two aggressive men. One man made advances on Samiya, and she politely provided her Instagram rather than her phone number. After being rejected by Samiya and berated by her friends, the young men turned violent. After arguing and fighting with the young women on the street, the young men returned with knives. Both twins were stabbed, and 19-year-old Samiya didn't make it. Now, a family, a community, and friends have to bury their sister. Samiya Spain was bright-eyed and ready for the world. She was loving, caring, and kind. The life of the party, a star in the making, a leader. She had so much more to do in this world, so much more to offer. Samiya lost her life protecting her sister. Samiya lost her life to senseless violence, to the fragile, male ego, because violence against women has been normalized and condoned. Samiya deserves to be here. She deserves to be celebrated. This money will go towards creating a non-profit foundation dedicated to advocating against violence against women, as well as funding a repast ceremony for Samiya. Hey, thank you for watching. Our deepest sympathies go to the family and friends of Samiya and Saniya Spain. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you know of other similar cases? Let me know in the comments section. And before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you next time and stay safe.